So look, I had to come back in here again, yeah, because, excuse me, I had to come back in here again because I was speaking to someone again about this whole election and what these many different parties were saying they were going to try and implement as legislations and policies that they were trying to bring in, and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. So I was sitting down there thinking to myself, right, every 5 years we speak about putting money into the NHS, right? And I have no problem with that because the NHS, we need it. We need our hospitals and whatever else have you. But money should be put into the NHS. But I'm like, a certain amount should be put into the NHS. Nurses and doctors should be paid the money they're asking for some of the shit that they have to deal with anyway. So when we speak of putting money into the NHS, I was sitting down there thinking to myself, we speak about this as a society, as a community. We speak about this shit all the fucking time whenever an election comes around and politicians start running for their campaigns about the NHS and blah blah blah, and we act like we're in the hospital every single fucking day. We're not in the hospital every single fucking day. Alright? Who you should be dealing with are people who need to go to the hospital. What you should be doing is telling these fuckholes that go into the hospital every single fucking weekend because they're so wasted, you should be telling these people to fuck off, because it's every weekend, it's these drunk motherfuckers that's always in the hospital costing the NHS money because they're getting so fucking wasted. They don't know when to say no. They don't know when to say no to another drink. I mean, you dealt with it last weekend. You were like off your fucking rockers last weekend. You just managed to get home last weekend. You can't remember what you did yesterday, and you go and do the same thing again the next weekend. So a certain amount of money should be put into the NHS, but what we should be dealing with, one thing we should be talking about, is homelessness. For one thing, we should be fucking talking about homelessness. All of these abandoned houses and warehouses that's all over the place that should be renovated, refurbished, and turned into like a homeless home for some of these homeless people to go and stay in, with like, I don't know, PC desktop computers for them to write up their CVs, little programs to push them back into work. This is what we should be speaking of. But the way we deal with homelessness, not just here but all over the world, the way we deal with homelessness is by putting spikes where homeless people sleep. Every morning when I finish work, there are homeless people all down the street. Homeless people. And I feel for these people. I feel for them. There are homeless people all over London. And we don't deal with it the way we should be dealing with it. We don't speak on it the way we should be speaking on it. Why don't we speak on that? Whenever a campaign comes around, whenever there's another election, why don't we speak on homelessness? Why don't we speak on the way our government, your government, deals with homelessness? Why aren't there any homes for the homeless people? Why aren't there? This shit is baffling to me. Like I said, the NHS should have money in it, but we act like we are in the hospital every single fucking day. We're not in the hospital every day. We're not in the hospital every day. There's only been a few times I've had to go to the hospital, and that is when I can't deal with the shit at home. Like I say, if I can't deal with it with holistic herbal shit, then I have to go to the hospital. The last time I went to the hospital, my nose just started bleeding out of nowhere. I had to go into the fucking hospital. It was bleeding for like 10-20 minutes. I had to go into the fucking hospital. Come to find out, something's wrong with my fucking kidney and my liver. Long story, but I'm not getting into it. Those are the only times I find myself going into the hospital. But every time when I have gone into the hospital, there are always people in there with a little sniffle or some shit. A little sniffle, something like that, and they sit down there for hours in the little A&E waiting room just to figure out wagwan for my sniffle during the winter time when it's cold as fuck. And you're in the hospital asking about a sniffle. Sniffle. Why aren't we speaking on homelessness? And I always get onto this. Why aren't we ever speaking about free energy living? There are many houses I walk past when I'm going to and from work. Doesn't matter which route I take. Every now and again I like to take a different route to and from work. I like to mix it up a little bit. But every now and again, I see like a few houses with the solar panels on their rooftop, and I like to see that shit. I love seeing houses with free energy living. Why don't we have this shit? Why don't we speak on this shit? It is 2017, people. 2017. It's 2017. Why are we still on this fossil fuel industrialized period bullshit? Why are we still on it? Why don't we speak on these things? Why not? When it comes to working, and I've spoken, like, I think this was like my first video that I ever posted on this channel. Why do we even work? But I know why we work, because of this frigging thing we called money. This piece of paper we called money, and that we put all of our love and all of our hopes and all of our prayers into. It's because of that. But when it comes to working, I know that there are some countries in Europe and other places in the world where the maximum working hours are like 25 hours a week. Because to me, if you run a business or a corporation, your workers need to be productive. They need to be happy to come into this motherfucker in the first place, right? They need to be happy to come into this motherfucker in the first place. So if they're not happy, if they're not productive because they're working so many hours and they got to deal with such stress and all of this bullshit that they have to deal with when they're at work, why do we work so many hours and not even speak on like cutting down national working hours anyway? I know we have zero contracts where people don't even know how many hours they're working at the moment, because many people today need at least 40-50 hours just to survive right now. 40 to 50 hours just to survive. What madness is this? What madness is this? And then even then, when you still work in a legit job, some people still have to do a little side thing to make extra money. Some people still have to work a second job to make extra money. What in the fuck? We don't speak on this. We don't speak about cutting down national working hours to like 30 hours a week, 25 hours a week. I work the night shift, for instance, and I always say to my colleagues, for instance, working the night shift from 9 till 6 in the morning, we should be working 4 days a week, not 5, but we work 5 days a week, happy and content. Happy and content. I'm not happy and content, but I do this shit because you've got to. Apparently, this is what you've got to do, because people haven't woken up to the fact that we as a working class have the power. That's right. We as a working class have the power. We haven't realized that yet though. No, we haven't. We haven't. I just wanted to come in here, quickly speak on this shit about things we don't speak about when it comes to an election and campaigns. We always speak about NHS, like tuition fees and all of that. Already, so-called third world countries already have free education, and apparently a first world country that we live in, what are they charging? I'm not even sure what the fuck they're charging, because I'm not trying to be focused on education right now. I feel like whatever I need to learn, I can learn it myself. Buy the books I need, learn it through life, read it, write that shit down myself, learn it. I don't need to learn this shit from someone who's going to regurgitate this shit back to me, who I assume knows this shit, but I have no idea if they really know this shit. And I'm going to put myself in debt for this shit. Why? First world country, we should have free education. We shouldn't even need to speak on tuition fees and student loans and whatever. We shouldn't even need to speak on this shit when an election comes around. We don't even need to speak. Fuck off with that talk. That should already be free. What we need to speak on is homelessness, for instance, like I said, and working hours, like I said. Wagwan. Free energy living. Wagwan. Why aren't we speaking on it? But no. Let's talk about putting money into the NHS for all of these drunk fucks that go in there every weekend because they're wasted out of their fucking head. I'm done, people. I'm out. Peace.